Hello, Colts Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, I am one of two dudes talking Colts. I'm your host, Stephen Burton. And although we had a game on Thursday, me and Zach talked and said, we got some fun topics that we can cover, especially coming out of Thursday, coming out of that great win. And we couldn't really go an entire weekend without talking to Colts Nation and the No Horsing Around family. So before we jump into the topic, as always, you guys, like, share, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think. The topic we're going to cover today is kind of a far reaching one, and I think it's going to cause a lot of scuttle in the comments on what I have to say, but it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. We're at about, I think, 610 as of this recording. As always, we would love to get to maybe 625 by the time we kind of hit the middle of next week. Would love that. Join the family. That's what we always say. That's what Zach says. Just join the family, okay? So without kind of further ado, as we always do on this show, we just kind of jump right in. The topic of the day, Jonathan Taylor, the number one running back in the NFL? Maybe. But let's kind of look at this, okay? So there's really looking over the league leaders. There's a handful that you can talk about. You talk about Jonathan Taylor, you talk about Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and Ezekiel Elliott, okay? The craziest thing with all these stats is that everyone's going to have played another game. Derrick Henry's not playing for 6 to 10 weeks. He's not playing this weekend, and he still has 937 yards and 10 touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor, obviously, stat-wise, comes in at number 2 with 821 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's rushing. We all know that he also has several receiving going. He does well in that category too, as opposed to Derrick Henry, who has hands of stone. Nick Chubb, 584 yards, 6 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, 572, 2 touchdowns. And Zeke, 571, 5 touchdowns. Okay, so why do I name all those 5? Because those are the leaders. But just because you're a leader in rushing doesn't mean that you are the best rushing in the NFL. Does it mean you are the best running back? I don't think so. I look through, my trusty pad and paper. Nick Chubb's very talented. He's very hurt. The reason his numbers are down is that he's not played the near amount of games. Joe Mixon, it's going to be interesting to see how that works with them because of him being on the Bengals, them having a very lethal passing attack with Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. What does that take away? And then Zeke's kind of Zeke, but they've transitioned to a passing attack as well, where Dak is just throwing the ball all around the yard to Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and all these players, right? So that leaves 2. You have kind of Derrick Henry, who the consensus has been the last several years, he is the best running back of the NFL. And I can't fault it. I mean, the guy had 2,000 yards rushing last season. He was obviously on pace for 2,000 yards rushing this season. He allocates for, I would say, 65 to 70% of his team's offense. I mean, he has 10 touchdowns already this year. And then you have Jonathan Taylor, who now the consensus is with Derrick Henry hurt that he is considered the number one running back in the NFL, which I think you can say that very easily. I think most people aren't going to disagree and argue that. That's not where the scuttle's going to come from on what I have to say. The scuttle's going to come from is Jonathan Taylor better than Derrick Henry? I don't know, but at the same time, as a Colts fan, as a watching person, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that he is a better running back than Derrick Henry. He is a better all-around player than Derrick Henry. Holy crap. Here come the comments. I feel it already. I feel a whole lot of tighten up coming probably. But let's look at this, you guys. Derrick Henry had, I want to say, 400-plus carries last season. He was on pace for a record, probably about over 500 carries this season. He has 219 on the season already. And I had a back and forth with a buddy of mine with Adam from Tighten Up Time about, well, that averages out to like 22 carries. Average is average. The dude carries the rock like 25 to 30 times on some games, sometimes above that. He's a huge chunk of their offense. And part of what you hear with the foot injury that he had is it's a stress fracture. Is it the first sign of him wearing down? It's a great question. Here's the deal, you guys. He's not going to play this weekend. JT already played this weekend, and Derrick Henry still has 79 more carries than JT, but he only has 110 more yards. They run him into the dirt. He's very similar to an Eddie George, and this was a conversation again that I had with Adam. Is the Titans hopefully know what they're doing because they ran one great running back into the dirt, Eddie George, and they're going to do it again with Derrick Henry. I hear you. I hear all the conversation of how massive he is, how he's built differently, how he never got hurt. He's hurt now, and it's a stress thing, and it's going to be interesting to see where the season goes for them. But he pounds and pounds and pounds. And when I say that I feel like Jonathan Taylor is the better running back, and I talk about being an overall running back, it's kind of like saying who was a better running back a little bit when you're comparing different styles. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, as of right now, Jonathan Taylor has, let me find it really quickly. And as far as receiving, there it is. Receiving, he has 293 yards and a touchdown. Okay. As opposed to Derrick Henry, who on his receiving front, he has 154 yards and no touchdowns. It's not, I mean, he's been targeted 20 times, Derrick Henry has, and JT's been targeted 27. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's this divider, but everybody always discusses that Derrick Henry doesn't catch the ball. So the question with this is, where do y'all sit? Do you think Jonathan Taylor is a better running back than Derrick Henry? I want to hear it in the comments. You guys tell me. I mean, I've come out here, I've put myself onto the ledge, I've put myself out on the cliff with you guys that I think that he is. I think he's trending up. I'm not saying Derrick Henry's trending down. And I don't want to get this twisted either. I'm not saying Derrick Henry is not a great running back. But is he a product of one, the system that feeds him the ball 30 plus times a game and 79 more times than the second leading rusher? Or is he just that talented? Is he a product of being just ran? I mean, when you look at this, let's look at last season, just last season, rushing. Okay. JT carried the ball 232 times. Okay. Still had 1,169 yards and 11 touchdowns. Derrick Henry carried the ball 378. 378, you guys. That's almost 140 more, 146 more carries than Jonathan Taylor. Okay. I mean, it's just, it's a question. Is he a product of a system that allows him to just carry and carry and carry? And on top of it, what will he look like now that he's dinged up for the first time in his career? Because let's also not miss the fact that with Derrick Henry, he goes backwards to when he played in college. There was a game where he carried the ball 40 plus times. It was insane. His workload is insane. And I know that everyone, I hear the tighten up. I hear it. I hear it. I hear all of that. I hear that, well, he's going to come back. He's going to run over everybody. He ran over you guys. Well, first of all, he did in the first meeting. Second meeting, he did not. I know you guys are going to say, well, he broke his foot. He played a broken foot. Okay. You guys have that. You guys still won the game, so I'm not going to argue. So we spent the bulk of the time, obviously, talking about Jonathan Taylor being better than Derrick Henry. I don't want to miss the other people. Like I said, Nick Chubb is very talented. He just got to stay healthy. Joe Mixon, Zeke, Dalvin Cook is another one who's fantastic. My brother loves him, but he just doesn't seem to stay healthy. He always misses a handful of games as well. So I would love to hear where you guys rank people. Do you have Jonathan Taylor as the number one running back right now? Because if you don't, I don't know what's wrong with you because there's no one above him. Derrick Henry's out. But the ultimate question is, do you have him above Derrick Henry? I do. That's where I'm at. So let's hear from you guys. Let's hear from everybody. Let's see what you guys think. So as always, you guys, like we always say too, please, please, please like, share, subscribe, comment. let me know. I'm sure I'm going to hear a whole lot of tighten up. I'm sure it's going to happen. But if you're doing that, hey, just hit the subscribe button. What does it hurt? Right? So I end this the way I always do. I love you. He's not here, but I know Zach loves you. And Jonathan Taylor is better than Derrick Henry. We're out.